My name is Katie Powell, and I am a librarian on the tech team at the main library. Today, I'm going to be starting a 3-part video series with you on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, if you're unaware, is a professional networking site which began in 2002 and has quickly grown to over 660 million users in over 200 countries and territories worldwide. This is a particularly useful tool if you are trying to connect with others in your profession or if you're trying to enter a new field completely. Today, we're going to get started with learning the LinkedIn Lingo, how to set up an account, and how to work on your introduction card, which is your business card of sorts for those on LinkedIn. So let's dive right in. So now that we know what LinkedIn is and what it can possibly do for us, let's get started by looking at the LinkedIn website. You can use the browser of your choice, although I am going to use Google Chrome. I'm going to give that a click. And then whenever my home page comes up, I'm going to go up here into the address bar. It's already flashing, so I can just start typing linkedin.com, and then I'm going to press enter. From here, you'll see that we have been welcomed to our professional community. You can use LinkedIn to search for a job, find someone you know, and even learn a new skill. Up at the top, you'll see there are the options to join now and to sign in. If you already have an existing LinkedIn account, you can go straight into signing in. But if you are brand new and you need to set up an account, you're going to click on Join Now. Even though I already have an account, I'm going to show you what it looks like to join LinkedIn. So I'm going to click on Join Now. And you'll see immediately that the two things that it wants from you is an email address and a password of 6 or more characters. It is not going to be advertised to your email address unless you want it to be, but I still would recommend using a professional email account. Perhaps your name, last name, maybe some numbers if you have a common name, such as I do. And then your password, 6 or more characters, something that you can remember. It's always good when your passwords have a mixture of letters, numbers, and symbols, but LinkedIn is not that picky as long as it is 6 or more characters. Before you join, it is highly recommended that you take a look at their user agreement, privacy policy, and cookie policies. Anytime that you sign up for a website, you do want to be aware of how they may or may not use your information and what you can do to opt in or out of things. All of these are clickable links, so if you click on one, it will open in a new window and you'll have to scroll and kind of read through it. So we're not going to go through everything that's in here, but I do want you to know that it is great to always read up on those. You can find those elsewhere on LinkedIn once you've already joined, but it's always great to pay attention to anything like that before you commit to joining a website. Now, another option is you can continue with Facebook. This does not mean that everything you post on Facebook will automatically post to LinkedIn or vice versa. It just means that they've kind of made it an easier option for you to sign in without having to create a new password for an account and not even having to type in anything really. You would continue with your Facebook login and be able to just manage your passwords that way. Again, not going to post on each other without your consent, so don't worry about whatever you post on Facebook automatically showing up on LinkedIn. It won't happen that way, but this is just an option. It has the or right here. You can do either or. Now, I am already on LinkedIn, so I'm going to click on Sign In right here. And the first thing that it's going to ask me for is my email or phone number. I signed up with an email address, so I'm going to type that in. And then my password. This isn't actually my password, but I'm just going to show you that if you are typing and you forget, oh no, what have I already typed? You can have your password shown to you by clicking on Show, and then you can hide it again. So if you're kind of concerned about what you might have typed or not typed, you can use that to take a look at what you're typing. And if you've forgotten your password, you can click on Forgot Password down here, and then it will ask for your phone or email, and then you will get a link either sent to your phone through text message or to your email address on file, and you will go through the resetting your password option. So if it's been a while since you've been on LinkedIn and you're not sure what passwords you used in the past, do not despair. There are ways to recover it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Sign In. And it'll take it just a moment. And here we are. It's going to load all the images and whatnot, and now we are on LinkedIn's home feed. So this is the home feed. It might ask you to remember your password. I'm going to say never since this is a library computer. So now we are in. We have a LinkedIn account. Do know that mine's going to look a little bit different than yours, that you're just starting off, because I do already have some connections that are sharing things here, as well as I already have a picture and a background image, which we're going to go over in more detail. But before we start making some changes or improvements to our profile, there is some LinkedIn lingo that I do want to cover with you, just so you kind of know and can follow along whenever I mention these things. Your profile is your page. Your profile is going to be what we're going to take a look at in just a second. It's where all of your work history is going to be, your education, your interests. It'll even have your headline. Maybe you're seeking an opportunity, or it's just going to detail, what you are and what company you work for. You get to manage what is shown on your profile and who can see what is on your profile. It is yours to do with whatever you need to do with it. Your feed is what we are looking at right now. Your feed is going to be a collection of what people you follow have shared, what businesses you follow have shared, and some hashtags. You'll see the hashtags over here. The hashtags that you follow have been tagged in. So your feed is customizable. You can't necessarily control everything on it. You can't control what your friends share, but you can control if you don't want those connections to come up as often on your feed, so to speak. Speaking of connections, those are people that you are linked to, hence the name LinkedIn, professionally. You'll see some websites call these followers and following, or your friends if you're familiar with Facebook, but on LinkedIn they are connections. They are connections that you have made through this social networking website. There are different degrees of connections, which we're going to talk about a little bit more, but think of it as a first degree connection is someone that you are connected with directly, and a second degree connection would be a connection of a connection, such as like a friend of a friend. Invitations are how you connect with these people. Whenever you find someone that you are like, oh, hey, I know her. We went to a conference together, or we used to teach together back in the day. You can reach out to them and send them an invitation, and that's whenever they become part of your network. You have to actually send invites or receive invites. Your network is not just the people that you're connected with. It can also be the groups that you are a part of, because you can be a part of a group on LinkedIn, as well as companies and educational institutions that you might follow. So they are part of your network here. Your interests are going to be things that you can add to your profile and your feed that will allow you to connect with people you might not know. So this is where it can be kind of useful if you're trying to break into the computer technology field. And maybe you've worked in a different field for a long time, but you can start following those hashtags, start marking those as interests, and that's something that you can kind of enter their world that way. Recommendations are very nice. We're going to talk about those a little bit more on your profile, and you're probably familiar with letters of recommendation. You can also get recommendations and written statements to be visible on your profile. If you worked with someone and they have nothing but rave things to say about you, and not just writing you a letter of recommendation on paper, they can also give you a recommendation if they are also on LinkedIn as well. Same thing with endorsements. Say that you are really talented at JavaScript or really talented at a particular skill. Someone in your network, someone that you preferably worked with before, can give you a little endorsement for that skill, so that whenever someone else is looking at your profile, think a potential employer, they'll know that you're not just saying you're good at something, that someone else agrees that you are really good at this particular skill. So that's some of the lingo that we're going to be covering in our LinkedIn videos. And with that being said, let's go ahead and go to our profile. So up here you'll notice the home, my network, jobs, messaging, notifications, all of that. I want you to find me. Might have a picture on it like mine does, or it might not. Then we're going to go to view profile. We're going to our page, our profile page. You'll see at the very top there is my image as well as my cover image and some information about me. This is the introduction card right here. So on your intro card, you'll also see the capability of editing. This is going to be what someone sees soon as they land on your profile, even whenever they're kind of checking you out potentially for a position you might have applied for. So I'm going to click on the pencil here to edit. And after that, it gives me the option to edit intro. So you'll see I have a picture here. I also have a pencil next to that. I could change my background image. I am a librarian, so I do have a bookshelf. I have kind of some artsy lighting right there. That's just a choice that I have made. You do just want to make sure that your photo isn't distracting. So if you're a graphic artist, it can be, splashes of color and something cool, or if you're a construction designer or something like that, you could have, maybe a project or a building that you've worked on, but you don't want it to be distracting. You don't want it to be, a joke or a quote or something that might kind of come off the wrong way. Just think of something nice and clean and that kind of showcases your field, your talents. Your image is the same way. You can click the edit button right next to this, and this should be a professional headshot. And it is important that you do have a photo on here, because members with a profile photo on LinkedIn can get up to 21 times more profile views than those without. So again, they want to see your face. They want to see, you're a professional picture. That's not to say it has to be done in a studio or anything like that, but preferably not, your dog's face, as adorable as he may be, or you out partying with friends. That might not be putting your best foot forward professionally. So you want to make sure it's a picture just of you. I've cropped my husband out right here. I don't need any confusion on who Katie Powell is. And you also have some filters and adjustments that you can make. It's not as comprehensive as Instagram or other photo editing software might be, but you can add different filters, maybe go for a black and white if you would like to. You can also adjust the brightness, the contrast, vignette, saturation. You can play around with it a little bit to touch it up, but don't make yourself completely unrecognizable, because again, LinkedIn is just a tool. Hopefully it'll be a tool that helps you get that in-person job interview, and you want them to know who's coming if they've already connected with you on LinkedIn. You have visibility settings here that you can determine who can see your profile picture. I have it set to the public, but you could explore any of these other options to where maybe only your connections can see your image, maybe people that are connected within a couple degrees of your network. You could make it to where all LinkedIn members have access to your image, or public. Someone on Google could pull up my picture if they wanted to. So it's completely up to you what you want to do, but do just remember that LinkedIn is to make connections with people. So privacy, it's always great to be aware of your privacy settings, but you don't want to lock it down too much to potentially prevent connecting with people that might help you out in a certain field. I'm going to close out of this since I'm not making any changes, and I'm going to close out of this. If I had made changes that I wanted to save, I would click on apply, or I could upload another photo, but I'm not going to do that today. And what I'm going to do instead is go back to editing here and scroll down just a little bit more. And I do want to talk about some of the required information on your introduction card. So a first name and a last name is required. If you go by a middle name or something, that is fine. You can go by that on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be your government name, but you don't want any nicknames that, are just unprofessional. You don't want to have that on here. I am a married woman, but I did start off my professional career under my maiden name, so I did want to include that on here. That way if a past connection happens to see me, they'll be like, oh yeah, that was Katie Phillips. So you can have a former name on there. Sometimes people just change their names because they want to, or they have life events such as marriages and divorces. So again, if you have ever gone by another name professionally, it's probably wise to include that to grow your network. And again, mine is visible to my network. They can see my former name. Your headline is something else that you might want to spend some time on. I am not currently looking for another job, so mine just says Technology Librarian at Charleston County Public Library, but you do want to kind of communicate some uniqueness. This can be a little snazzy here with your headline. Think about the job that you're after, the job that you want. How would you kind of sell yourself in just a couple words? The job title that you have or had or that you're after, and maybe some keywords in there that would make you come up in a search. You don't want to come across as desperate, you don't want to say woman desperately seeking employment in Charleston. No, we don't want to put that type of vibe out there on LinkedIn. And you also probably want to avoid cracking too many jokes on LinkedIn, because just know everybody has a different sense of humor, and if that's the first thing they see in your headline, they might not know how to take you. So just a little caution in there, but do feel free to be creative. You can show your education. There is a checkbox here. I do have my education shown in my intro, but if you've been out of school for several years and it's, kind of something that you don't need on there, you do not have to show your education on there. So that is an option for you. Your country and your region is required, but you don't have to be more detailed than that. I do have my postal code and the Charleston, South Carolina area on there. It is not required. I just do have that on mine. And then your industry. There is a drop-down menu here for all kinds of different things, whether you're in insurance, law enforcement. They have libraries on here for me, but there's a whole long list. Ranching, real estate. So it is pretty varied. You can search for the industry that closest fits what you are into. And then at the bottom, there is the contact info of it all. I did mention earlier that whenever you sign up for LinkedIn and you have an email address, that is not broadcast to anyone else on LinkedIn. However, if you are a graphic designer and you do want someone to be able to email you to get a quote for a custom job or something, you could put that in here. You absolutely could put your email address. You could put your personal website as a link right here if you have created a website, or if your business already has a website developed. So that is certainly something you could include. It is not at all required. I do not want my personal email on here, or my work email, or any type of website that I have created, so I don't have that there. But again, you could, and it might be a good thing, depending on your field, to have something there. I didn't make any changes, but just in case, I am going to click on Save. And at this point, if you were following along with me, you should have this area right up here, your intro card filled out of your LinkedIn profile, and that is where we are going to end this first video. Come back for video 2, where we're going to look more on the profile page, home feed, your network, and applying for jobs. That's what we're all after here. And then in video 3, we're going to wrap up with some privacy and security, how to share contact, and there is a messaging service in LinkedIn. So thank you for taking this time to learn about LinkedIn with me, and I hope to see you in the next video.